All right, now let's talk about the money in Asia. All right. So again, first thing is your accommodation, okay? And this varies dramatically. There's tons of different options for this. But similar to Australia, there's the cheap option, which is significantly cheaper in Asia, okay? Most places, most cities, you can find a place for around $3 a night starting. That's your hostels in many cities. Not every city, but like in Bali, basically everywhere you can find a place for $3 a night. Average in Southeast Asia for a hostel is going to be about 6 US a night. Okay, bringing so if that's average, that's 180 US dollars a month in accommodation. So that's way cheaper than I'm guessing your accommodation is back home. Okay, it's pretty crazy. All right, next, food in Asia. In most parts of Southeast Asia, you can find the good, cheap local food for around $1, $1 a meal. So if you eat that way all the time, which I usually eat that way now, it's the food I enjoy the most. That comes out to 90 US dollars a month for food. Probably way cheaper than what you're spending back home. Okay, but again, there are always other options. You might want to budget quite a bit more than this. So when it comes to local food, there's the cheaper local food like that. Then there's kind of more expensive local food, like maybe a nicer restaurant with like wooden chairs and a tablecloth, but it's the same food as at the other place. Okay, that's also very common. There'll be a lot of restaurants like that around hostels, and then if you want the cheaper stuff, you might have to walk a little bit to get to that. So you're not always probably going to be spending $1 a meal. But then the crazy thing too, every once in a while you're going to want Western food, and that is typically around $4 a meal. Like you can get an entire pizza for $4. Pasta is going to be around $4. Things like that is quite a bit more expensive than like the cheap local food, but it's still way cheaper than back home. So your food budget, your food bill will be way less in Southeast Asia than it is back home. All right, partying. Okay, this is a domestic beer breakdown by country. Okay, so in Bali you'll be drinking the bintang for around $2 a beer at a bar. Thailand, the Leo and the Singhai, the Chang will be a little cheaper than $3, but the Leo and Singhai will be around $3, and that's the what I recommend you drink. Malaysia, it's a bit more expensive, $4 I put on there. It might even be more expensive than that in some places. Vietnam, super cheap, 88 cents a beer. Cambodia, super cheap at 50 cents for a beer in a bar at most places, okay? So your partying will be way cheaper in Southeast Asia. Next is your transport. Okay, so if you're booking 2 weeks in advance, I did for these flights, okay? To get to Southeast Asia, right? Perth to Bali if you're doing Australia first, or vice versa, just so you're aware. 2 weeks in advance was 179 US. 4 weeks in advance was actually a little bit more expensive for the Southeast Asian flights I found, which surprised me a little bit. Maybe I'll have to start booking a little sooner from now on. But Bali to Bangkok, $120. Bangkok to Kuala Lumpur, $42. A train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai is $25 for a first class sleeper with air conditioning. So you have your own bed, you have an outlet to plug your devices in, air conditioning. I'm trying to remember. I think this is like a 16-hour train ride, $25. Not bad. A bus from Bangkok to Siem Reap, $22. So this gives you an idea of what some of the transportation costs will be. Flights are a bit more, but once you're in Southeast Asia to Southeast Asia is really not that much, except for Bali. Getting to and getting out of Bali is a little bit more expensive because there aren't really any other options. But other than that, once you're in mainland Southeast Asia, that transportation is pretty cheap. All right, so all of that broken down here by category, okay? And if you're living the way most backpackers are, you're probably spending around 800 US dollars a month in Southeast Asia. okay? If you want to be a super saver, you can definitely do less, right? You can stay living in those super cheap hostels. You can eat the local food. You know, you find your couple restaurants by your hostel that you like, and you can do that. If you're not partying, if you are, you know, this super saver style might be like you lived in Bali for 1 month and you traveled around. You were a normal backpacker, right? But then maybe your second month in Bali, um, you bought a used surfboard that you'll try to sell for the exactly what you bought it for when you leave Bali, right? And you're focused on like maybe surfing, running on the beach, reading, and just hanging out, enjoying Bali, taking in the scenery. Like you could definitely live on 500 US dollars a month doing that if you wanted to, okay? But again, you're going to be living in the cheaper hostels, eating the cheaper food, not partying a whole lot. Touristy things, still, you know, $100 towards that. Transportation, that's kind of you're getting to Bali and leaving Bali, and yeah, so that's the lowest you could probably expect to spend. Where 800 is going to be pretty average for this is for Bali, but this is really about what you can expect to spend for all of Southeast Asia. It's going to be pretty close to this. But you can also, so you're not dipping into your savings and taking out $800 a month, right? You can also be working while you're in Asia. This is the really cool thing. And a lot of people are not going to do this. Most backpackers are not doing this. Like most backpackers are traveling Southeast Asia solely as a backpacker and probably doing it right before or right after Australia, where you're on a working holiday visa and you're saving up money there for your Asia trip, okay? But you also can work while you're in Southeast Asia if you want to. And I have a whole nother video on different ways of doing this, but one of the best and easiest ways to do it is to be an English teacher online, and doing that you can make $18 to $25 an hour starting out, okay? And so did this, put in $20 an hour here, and yeah, basically in Southeast Asia, you can break even. You can basically hit your monthly expenses by working 10 hours a week. That is freaking crazy. I'm guarantee you can't do that back home if you're a millennial, right? Like that's like the top 1% of millennials that could do that back home, okay? That's just, yeah, it's just crazy. But think about this, right? You're still making 20 US dollars a week, and if you're working 20 hours, you're putting $800 a month into your bank account. 30, 40. If you're working 40 hours a week doing this, and I don't know how realistic it would be to be an online English teacher working 40 hours a week. You could probably do it, but not many people would probably want to. But you could, and if you're living off of your $800 a month, you'd be banking $2,400 every month. Crazy, 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 crazy. I'm guessing a lot of you watching this would actually be able to be further ahead financially by quitting your job, teaching English in Asia full time, and saving this kind of money, right? I'm guessing most of you watching this, millennials in the U.S., are not able to save and have that money left over to save and invest every single month working a job in the States with your living expenses of living in the States. It's pretty remarkable. Again, also, this does not factor in taxes. Your taxes are going to be your own situation, but here again on the bottom here, this reminder, definitely check out the foreign earned income exclusion. Google that if you are going to be working abroad, okay? You'll be really happy you did. Can potentially make it so you're not paying any money in taxes. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not a tax accountant. Don't play one on the internet, but yeah, look into that if you're going to be working while abroad. All right, and then if you have student loan debts, these same numbers here, okay? Like you have $500 in student loan debt, like you could still be banking and saving $1,100 every month by teaching English 30 hours a week online from Bali, okay? That's one possible way that that's one possible way you could be living your life right now, or you could be in the next couple months. Okay, something to keep in mind. All right, and if you like that video, head on over to gapyearoftravel.com to learn more about how to take an awesome gap year. I'll see you there.